I just want to say that.
But just a quick question, because, you know, these acronyms, CPE, et cetera.
I'm sorry.
No, but what does that mean that you can move money from, let's say, a CPE from a single channel into global, move it around, shift around? If I make a lot of history movies, for instance, should I be nervous that you're going to sort of now designate it for drama? Are you going to sort of respect the traditional lines in between factual and drama? Or is this an altogether wrong question? And you will correct me, I know.
No, it's a good question, because nobody's quite sure yet, because we're all moving towards this, and it doesn't affect us until fiscal 12, which starts this coming September. We don't foresee huge shifts. I mean, technically, it is a group CPE, and we can talk about the programs of national importance as part of that, which is the right thing to have done in terms of carving out a protected bucket of money for documentaries and drama. But, you know, technically, you take a group CPE, I guess you could spend it on one show. But the reality is, we have 6 analogs and a conventional broadcaster to deliver programming to. The exhibition rules aren't changing. Every prime time has to be 50% Canadian. And in terms of the percentage that we spend with independent productions, all that's still there. So our goal is to make every one of our channels successful. So we're not about to start doing drastic, you know, shoving money over here or over here. It's just given us a framework of flexibility, however.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Kevin, we used to think in the old days, I mean, this goes back a few years now, that you wanted to make a feature, you went to see the, you know, the pay specialties. And then a few years ago, you all said, Astral said, well, you know, we want to be more active in television, and you have been more active in television. How has that worked out for you? Are you doing more? And because the CMPA also represents feature filmmakers, I have to grind you a little bit, because, you know, we've lost a home. I don't make features, or I rarely make features, but we've lost a home. So, but let's just start with the change. Like, we went to television. Where are we right now?
Yeah, I wouldn't characterize it that we moved away from features to television. It was adding on a component, and we haven't reduced our commitment towards feature films. We still try to license every Canadian feature film that's released. We obviously have to work in conjunction with Chorus, which operates Movie Central for the western part of the country. Obviously, through the Harold Greenberg Fund, we're very active in the development of feature films, and that's a great way to get projects, you know, that first, you know, sort of get things going in terms of developing the project. The development of a drama strategy is something that's been in the works for a while, and I think is starting to bear fruits. The Pillars of the Earth miniseries, which we did in conjunction with CBC, recently sold to Starz, phenomenally successful. They were very happy with the show. Call Me Fitz, another one of our original dramas with starring Jason Priestley, was picked up by DirecTV. So we're very happy of kind of how the shows have been received, both critically and both by our audiences.
Why do you like that? Because you make money on it?
No, what it does is it helps raise our profile. In fact, I think we're starting to see the fruits of that, where we've recently started to be approached by international partners saying, hey, you're doing the kinds of content that we like to do. Can we work with you? So that has opened up a few doors for us in terms of facilitating the financing of projects and of marketing of projects. So that's been successful. At the end of the day, we do premium television, and we have to create content that drives subscribers to our service, because every month a subscriber will look at the service and say, gee, do I really want to pay that money again this month? So we have to have original content that's compelling, that's dramatic, that's cinematic, that's got great value. So that's kind of what we look for, you know, in each of our projects.
You know, people sort of give big numbers. John Riley said 37 million, I believe, today. So that's a good start. Yeah. But where are you really going to end up?
Well, that's also in addition to 17.8 million that Family Channel spends, plus 3.4 that, as I mentioned before, that the Harold Greenberg Fund brings to the table. And you know, again, not to overpass, but Family Channel is very active in original programming. All of the Canadian content on the service is original programming, phenomenally successful. We often forget the success that our kids programming has, both domestically. For example, Vacation with Derek was a show that was done with Shaftesbury, a movie basically that was done as a culmination of a series, Life with Derek, did over 900,000 viewers. We were blown away by the success of that. But that shows you that not only can a show work for the schedule, but can also work for the audience. So we're very pleased with that. And it obviously, as Christine pointed out, the success of the formula of success that we have, if we get more revenue, it goes back into more content. So it's a bit of a win-win.
Okay, well, you brought up something that made me think, because you mentioned DirecTV and Pillars of the Earth, and that did a sale with Stars that was very good. I want to talk about both of those phenomena, but I want to get to the so-called Canadiana that you referred to. When I think about Canadiana, I think about the old days. We did a series on Trudeau on the CBC that was like magnificent. We used to do a lot of television movies on distinctly Canadian subjects. You know, as a producer, I didn't have to worry whether I would sell it to Turner or CBS. I knew there would be a home for it. So I'd like each of you to talk a little bit about what the heck you mean by Canadiana, because we need direction. If you say Canadiana, I think British Columbia. You think, I don't know, maybe a fantasy series set somewhere in, So how much Canadian content can I bring each one of you? Because, we've got an eye on the international market as well, but surely, and I'll start with you, Christine, we don't want to lose sight of the fact that we have distinct and unique stories in this country, and we ought to be taking them on.
Well, when we commission work, we tend not to have international rights at all, or any real gain in terms of what happens outside of Canadian borders. So we want the shows to be distinctly Canadian, and we want them to resonate with Canadians, right? So for example, something like Doyle, coming from Newfoundland, I mean, Newfoundland is part of that story. Heartland, the prairie, is part of that story. It's a character in the story. And so we're very happy for the shows to be Canadian in that way. It's not necessary that shows be about Canadian politicians or about famous Canadians in some way. They just need to be stories that resonate with Canadians around themes that we would find relevant.
But I would say that if you're not doing shows about famous Canadians and big Canadian stories, who is?
Well, I would argue we are doing shows about famous Canadians and big, but it's not necessary that it fulfill that in order to be something we'd be interested in doing.
Okay. So I was talking to someone about the John Turner years.
Is that a pitch?
It's a pitch.
It's always a pitch.
It's open. You could pick it up.
No, it's okay.
It's all yours.
Clarifying. Okay. Clarity is my
It's
middle
not a
name.
good pitch, but it was a pitch. National importance.
The programs of national importance?
Yeah.
As defined by the CRTC, which are dramas, documentaries, and award shows. So a percentage of what of our Canadian production expenditure will be assigned or is assigned to those genres of programming.
Right. And what would you see in that category for drama, let's say, for national importance? Because, I can think of different political type events that would qualify into that. But say we took drama, would there be anything that would be?
I don't think that regulatory framework is actually going to change our direction in what we're doing in terms of development and commissioning. On the drama front, what's very important to us is, again, to deliver ratings. I can't just say that enough. So that means thinking about our audience, thinking about our competition, thinking about the landscape where the show has to sit, and ensuring that it's got a populist sensibility so that A, it piques the interest of an audience, and B, they come and check it out and actually stay with it. That, to me, doesn't mean Canadiana. I want to work with Canadian creators who have Canadian stories to tell, absolutely. But I don't sit there saying, okay, this bucket is all the Canadiana, and I don't say Anne Green Gables, but you know what I mean, versus the sci-fi, type paranormal things you don't see every day on the streets of Toronto. We don't approach it that way.
Well, let me just ask you, because I know you've done a couple of shows, including one we did together, that they're not co-productions, but done with like Rookie Blue with an American network. How much influence do those networks bring to bear, and how much do they tell you what to do? These are 10 out of 10 programs. What's the real story behind that?
I will say for Rookie Blue and the new series that we've commissioned that's coming in June, Combat Hospital, from the ladies at Sienna Films, both those series were fully developed here in Canada by creative teams with my executives. They then went seeking other financing. The truth about big dramas, we know the more money you can put on the screen, the more chances of success those shows are going to have. And as much as we're desperately, and we are paying over threshold, our CMF envelopes, and distributors are bringing money, it's still not enough. Those of you who do it know it. You need to be up in the 2.8 per hour range to really drive it home. So both those shows...
You hear that? 2.8 million an hour.
It's crazy. Anyways, both those shows went fully developed looking for partners. So when ABC came on board, and as Quinn Taylor will say, he was there from the beginning. The reality is we were developed it for a full year before, but that's okay, Quinn. I want them to feel they're part of the team. We were thrilled, and we welcomed them as a partner. Nothing happened on that show that we didn't agree with or that we didn't approve. And that will be the same case with Combat Hospital. We are in the throes of casting as we speak, and as much as we're working with ABC as a partner, and what I'm loving is how respectful they are being and understanding that they need a partner because they're buying these shows for a certain reason as well. They're very much our Canadian producers' shows, very much so.
Well, you're getting involved in some of those shows. What's been your experience?
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that one thing I have felt there's been a shift, and Christine, I would agree with you. The days when the other international partners would just say, you know, you just send us your money and we'll make the show happen, and they just took control. I think those days have changed. I think they've seen the expertise that's here in Canada, both from a broadcasting side as well, obviously on a production side, and seeing the kinds of projects that are created up here. And again, I'll use Canadian examples. Life with Derek is a show that was done for Family Channel, developed by Family Channel. Shaftesbury, excellent production, was acquired by the Disney Channel and did phenomenally successful for them. And it wasn't a show that they would have created because it wasn't something, it had a perspective, it had a viewpoint that was different. It wasn't the traditional Disney perspective. So it brought something fresh to their schedule. And I think that, maybe going back to answer your earlier question, we don't really think about Canadiana. We think that we're commissioning original programming for our services, whether it's a Family Channel or a movie network. We're creating programming that has to work for us, and we're working with our local partners.
And we're always really honest with producers, or at least we try to be, when we're in development and a producer says, is it going to make a difference if I bring a U.S. partner? And there are times we say, just chill. Just don't go running around with this. Let's just make sure this is a project that we both feel that is creatively ready to talk about how it's going to get put together. And then we get to a point where sometimes we are honestly on the fence about a project, and we're thinking, are we prepared to commit this chunk of dollars to this? And it might make a big difference if there was a partner there. And we're very honest with producers and say that. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed of a pickup, but it starts to shift our thinking about a project in terms of how many partners could be involved in it, and in terms of what priority it becomes.
So, Christine, for you, you're sort of handicapped because, you know, the two of them are running around, sleeping around with the U.S., and there you are, all Canadian, and they've got $2.8 million budgets, and you're trying to make a difference.
Not all of them are 2.8.
Okay, most of them at 2.8.
I've written down 2.8.
And
It's too high, isn't it? It's not 2.8.
know.
What is it? What is it? 2.4? Never mind. I think
Never
I've
mind.
gone too high.
2.8. It's
Down,
not 2.8.
Tara? Yeah, okay.
But
sounds
you
good.
get the gist. So can you do stuff like that with, at the CBC?
Well, we had the Tudors, we have Camelot coming up, we had Pillars
those
of
are
the Earth.
partnerships,
Those
yeah.
are treaty co-productions and international treaty co-productions. And beyond the fact that they provide larger budgets, they give our Canadian producers and directors and actors some kind of foray into the world stage. I mean, they're working with the best of the best in television when you're putting the Tudors on, and that's a great opportunity for them, and it's great content for us.
Well, it's not exactly the